This review contains massive spoilers. If you don't want the game ruined for you, leave now. Hey everyone, Merman here with another review. Recently picked up Sonic Unleashed for the Wii. Didn't feel like waiting for the PS3 and Xbox 360 version. I was perfectly content with the Wii version on the whole, because I'm using the GameCube controller, so I don't think that mattered either way. It's interesting to note because on the back it says the difference is night and day. And that's basically the story of the game. It's a tale of two games. We have the normal Sonic levels and the new Werehog levels. To start off, the regular speed levels, which unfortunately are the minority of the game. There are equal number of actual stages. You have the day stage, which is normal, and the night stage of Werehog. You'll be spending a vast majority of the time in the Werehog levels because they take forever. But the speed levels are very well done. They're fast, and they actually control pretty good. Mind you, the actual control scheme is a little odd, because you have this little drifting thing where you can kind of just slide around corners, and you have the side step where it'll automatically move a little bit to the left and to the right, depending on what you press. It takes a while to get used to, especially in the earlier levels, because you're not quite used to it. But after you get, like most Sonic games, once you get used to the control scheme, you can, just fly through levels. It's pretty entertaining. The only thing I don't particularly like is that the drift doesn't work as well as you probably would expect it to. But it's something you get used to eventually over time. Just gameplay-wise, I don't have much to say on the speed levels. If you're a Sonic fan, you know what to expect from here. Just good old-fashioned running, which is what the whole game should have been about. But unfortunately, we get the Werehog, which is absolute crap. I'm sorry. Some people say they're decent, but I found them absolutely horrendously bad. It's supposed to be a beat-em-up / platformer sort of thing, and it can't do either well at all. The Werehog controls horribly. Well, first off, he's slow in his normal running, which of course, if you're playing a Sonic game, you're not playing to be slow. He runs incredibly slow, and when he actually do a running animation, he is beyond out of control. He'll just slide all over the place and miss things completely and just fall off and die. And that leads to another issue. The platforming is horrendous. His jump is just broken, because he'll just keep his momentum in the air, and when he lands it'll just kind of slide forward unless you're actually holding back to keep him on. It's one of those platformers where you won't die because you messed up. It's just because the game itself is just not good. And let's face it, he has stretchy arms for the platforming, which I guess, like I said, was supposed to make the game more forgiving. Well, it had to be forgiving because there's no way in hell you were ever going to do actual platforming with this this sort of gameplay. Which also brings to the fact that, brings into the fact one other thing. If you're gonna make a game about platforming and stretchy arms, make another Rise Star. Sega, get this through your freaking heads. We don't want to do platforming with Sonic. We don't want to do the stretchy arm thing with Sonic. Just make another Rise Star. God. Now moving on to the other half of the Werehog's gameplay, which is the beat-em-up segments. A lot of games are considered button mashing nowadays. I often use it for Kingdom Hearts because that's how I beat the game, just button mashing, but this is nothing but button mashing. On the GameCube setup, you use the L and the R triggers. R is right punch, L is left punch, and so on and so forth. It's just so broken. Some enemies are just so stupid, they'll just stand there and just get the shit beaten out of them, and some enemies are so small and fast, you can't hit them to save your life. There's one of the enemies is like a little bee thing, and it doesn't really matter if you're standing right next to him. You have to hit it dead on, or it won't register as a hit. And you can sort of level up by gaining experience, but none of the extra moves are useful at all. Like he has such a move where he'll, launch him up in the air, it's useless because you're either the enemies are too stupid to do anything, so lifting them up in the air is relatively pointless, or there's so many enemies on screen, the second you get hit once it'll break up any sort of combo you were trying to do in the first place. Which leads to another issue. Later on in the game, like after like the first 2 segments of the Werehog, they'll just throw shitloads of enemies at you and they'll just like crowd the screen. I mean, it's pretty pathetic on how they have to resort to just putting shitloads of enemies on screen to try and make the enemies hard. Which the thing is, none of the enemies are hard. There's only one type of enemy, which is like a mini-boss character, who shows up rarely. None of them are of any real threat. It's just that the game is so broken they actually can kill you. Like if the guard button wasn't slow, or if the Werehog wasn't ridiculously slow moving in his attacks, no enemy, except for that mini-boss, would ever kill you. I think they were banking on the environment and the control scheme killing you more often than anything, which is a major shame of the fighting. It's just bad. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded it as much if it were Knuckles, which would have made a whole lot more sense considering he actually fights, but no, we get this Werehog thing. But I don't think even Knuckles there would have helped the gameplay at all, but just the platforming, the level design, and the fighting is just painfully bad. I wouldn't say it's worse than Sonic 06. It's about on par with Sonic 06. It's just broken and they didn't try very hard. Or if they were trying hard, apparently they all fail at game design then. What it basically did made me appreciate Silver's gameplay, which it must be bad if it made me appreciate Silver. To be in all honesty about that. Because the main problem with the game is that you spend so much more time as a hedgehog because he is so slow. The average Werehog level takes about 4 to 6 minutes, as long as you don't, fuck around and just go straight through the level, which I did. But the problem is, every day-night level's kind of broken up into segments. Early on in the game, you'll have like 3 straight Werehog segments, and that's just one little continent of the story mode. I mean, you'll get done with the speed missions in about all the segments in total in about 5 minutes until you get to one of the later levels. But I mean, in about the time it takes to do a normal Werehog level, and you have about 3 Werehog levels in a row, and the last level has 5 straight, and at that point you just want to kill yourself because you're beyond bored. I mean, they tried to split it up evenly, but they didn't realize that the speed levels get over so quickly and the Werehog levels take so long. It feels like 3/4 of the game is Werehog, especially in the beginning, because you start off in the speed level and then you'll go through like 12 straight Werehog levels before you get to another speed level, and trust me, you get really pissed off because all you want to do is just run. You just want to do the running levels and actually enjoy the game for a little bit. Mind you, some of the later levels in the game for the speed missions, especially Robotropolis, I refuse to call it Eggman Landed, call him Eggman, his name's Robotnik. Robotropolis is a really fun level with the speed levels. It is exactly what Robotropolis would be if it were an actual level, and I commend Sega for actually doing that. But again, those moments are so few and far between the Werehog levels. It just doesn't make the game overly fun. Mind you, once you get through the actual game, you can go play the speed levels wherever you want, which is what I'm going to be doing. I'm probably never going to play the Werehog levels again unless you get something in particular for, completing all the extra quests and stuff, and unless it's something really worth it, I'm not going to really try. But again, it's a shame because it feels like 3/4 of the game compared to 1/4 is the Werehog levels, and that's just a crying shame.